Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining. Sunil here. Can you hear me? Please give your confirmations on the chat box, please. Thank you. Thank you very much for your confirmations. Let us stop chat. Let us stop chat. Thank you. Thank you. Let us stop the chat. So what's the plan for today? We are learning many more important concepts today. We'll have a quick discussion about self-closing tab. Creating hyperlink, very, very important. How can we create a hyperlink using anchor tag? Most frequently used way of presenting the data to the end user is by using tables. We'll learn about how to create tables in HTML. Input tag to accept the values from the keyboard. Label tag to provide the labels for the input field. You will be experiencing the first style sheet today. Very important. How can you link the style sheet to the HTML page? What is the importance of division tag? So this is our plan for today. So we are learning very, very important concepts of HTML in our today's session. As usual, before starting the session, let's have interaction. As usual, before getting started, let's have interaction with Mr. Ramu. Hi, Ramu. Good morning. Your question, please. I can see your hand raised. Yes, Ramu.
Hello, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Sir, I am pursuing MBA, sir. Is it course is useful for me?
Are you planning to get into IT industry?
Yes, sir.
Then
Actually,
definitely
in
this
bachelor
will be-
degree, BSc MPC, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, is it good?
If
Is it
you are
okay
planning to get
for
into IT
MBA?
industry, definitely this will be good course
Okay,
for
sir.
you
Thank you
to
very much,
start
sir.
with. To start with. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Sai Mahesh, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Sir,
Your voice is not clear. Please check your internet connection. Good morning, Saurav.
Hi, Santosh. How are you?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing good. Same here. Actually, can you help me where whatever concepts you teach, so where can I practice it?
Repeat your question. What are the concepts we are
Like
teaching?
like last class you taught about HTML tags, and today you will teach style sheets, So where can I
Today,
practice
where can I practice?
platform?
Is your question.
Right.
You don't need to install anything to practice these concepts. Saurav, you don't need to install anything to practice the concepts. Even I have not installed anything in my laptop. What you need is a notepad. Saurav, are you understanding?
Yes.
What you need is a notepad to write your HTML code. Okay, once the HTML code is saved, how are you opening that particular code? Using the browser. Anyways, your laptop will have browser, right? Google Chrome or Mozilla or Internet Explorer. So using that, you can open the HTML page. You don't need to install any software to run this, create these HTML pages. Clear?
Yes.
Okay. In the yesterday's class also, when we have learned about practicals, I have not installed anything. Isn't it, Saurav? Okay.
Right.
So you don't need to install anything to practice this HTML. You don't need to install anything to practice this HTML. You can just need a browser. That's enough. Okay. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect. One more call before getting started. Yes, Jyoti. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Sunil. I'm
Good
your
morning.
DevOps and AWS batch student. Is it useful for DevOps as well? This UI technologies?
No, this is not much useful for a DevOps. professionally. Okay. Python is
Okay.
useful. Focus on Python.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Jyoti. Adabala.
Hello, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Sir, actually, I have a doubt. At the end of this course, we get a certificate, right?
You get a course completion certificate for the
Yes, sir.
students who made the payment of rupees 999 to play the videos. Okay.
Okay, sir.
The live
Actually,
timing is free, but if you want the course completion certificate, you have to buy the videos.
so if you want to get a certificate, we have to buy the course.
Correct. And you have to enroll for the course.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Let's get started. Quick recap of the concepts what we have discussed in the previous session. Quick recap of the concepts what we have discussed in the previous session. We have learned how the HTML page looks like, HTML head, HTML body. We know how to write tags. We know how to create list. How can we embed an image? I hope you remember we have embedded a tree image in the HTML page. Okay, how can we use attributes? So this is what we have learned in our previous session. And in today's session, we are learning about these concepts. Let's get started. Self-closing tags. Self-closing tags. In the HTML examples, what we have discussed in the previous session, where I am saving my examples. Okay. Look at the HTML code. This is the HTML file what we have created in a previous session. Let me open this particular file in the notepad. Every tag is having a closing tag. Have you observed, my dear participants? Every tag is having a closing tag. This is the beginning tag of head, and head is also having a closing tag. Whenever you have a slash here, that means it's the closing tag of head. This is title tag. This is the closing tag of title. Okay, are you understanding? So this is the this is the closing tag of body, the beginning tag of body, and the closing tag of body. So you have observed that few tags are having closing tags. But there are some tags which are self-closing. That means you don't need to close the tag. They are self-closing tag. Self-closing tags are in HTML is a kind of HTML tag that does not need to be closed manually. There are some tags where you don't need a closing tag. For example, in the previous session, we have learned how to embed an image. This is an image tag. SRC is one attribute. ALT is alternate is one attribute. Is there any closing tag? There is no closing tag. Have you observed? Have you observed this is the beginning tag of unordered list? This is the closing tag of unordered. Is there any closing tag for image? No. There are some tags which does not require closing tags. Example, image tag. These kind of tags which does not require any closing tags are called as self-closing tag. Examples of self-closing tag, image, you don't need to have a closing tag. Break. When you want to display a line into multiple lines, we need to use break tag. Input tag, which we are learning today to accept the value from the keyboard, from the end user. So these tags are called as self-closing tags. Okay, these kind of tags are called as self-closing tags. Okay, anyways, we'll be using this input tag. We'll be using many types of break tag in our coming example. So don't think that every tag will have a closing tag. There will be some self-closing tag which does not read a closing tag. Okay, okay, perfect. Break tag inserts a line break. What does that mean? You may have questions, Sunil. What do you mean by break tag? What do you mean by inserting a line break? Very simple. Let's look at an example. Let's write a HTML code. I'm opening a notepad. You don't need any tool to write a HTML code. You can just open the notepad and start writing a HTML code. How a HTML code looks like. I hope you have done a revision. I hope you have done a revision of how the HTML code looks like. HTML starts with a keyword for the tag HTML. Every HTML will have a closing tag. This is a closing tag of HTML. HTML is having how many parts? HTML tag is having how many parts? Quick revision. The two parts. One is head, the other one is body. I'm writing about the head tag. And this is a close of head tag. And I have a body tag. And I'm writing a close for the body tag. In the HTML tag, we can provide a title. Welcome to this page. Do you remember what is the title? Whenever you open a particular page, so whenever in the browser, in the title bar, somewhere here you will find this is called as title. So whatever you see it here, this is called as titles, okay, of the HTML pages, okay. So that's called title. So I have given a title to my page, welcome to this page. And in the body tag, please observe. This is Sunil. I am from Hyderabad. Whatever you write it in the body tag, that will be displayed to the end user. You know that. Let me save this page. This is a very simple basic HTML page. File, save as. Where do you want to save it? In any location, whichever you want, you can save it. I want to save it in D drive. I have created a new folder with the name examples. And I save the file with the extension, not txt. It select the type as all files, and save should be HTML. What is the file extension? Very important. The file extension should be HTML. It can be any name. I'm writing it as xyz.html. File name can be anything. Where I'm saving my file, very important. Keep in mind where I am saving my file. I am saving my file in D drive. Where I am saving my file in this location, and D drive examples folder. What is the file name xyz? What is the extension .html? So xyz.html, save it. You can also see the file which I have saved it in the examples folder. As you can see here, my dear friends, this is the file which I have just now created. How to open the HTML page? You have to open the HTML page from the browser. My dear participants, you don't need to install any software in your laptop or desktop. You can just create a HTML page. And how do you open the HTML page? We open the HTML page from the browser. Right click on this particular HTML page. You have an option called open with, whichever the browser you are comfortable. You can open this particular HTML page. I want to open from Google Chrome. Yes, this is the title. First important point. What is the title we have given? Please look at the code. The title what we have given is welcome to this page, particular page. So this title will be displayed here. Correct? This title will be displayed here. Okay. And whatever the content, this is Sunil Kopavaroko. I am from Hyderabad. That is displayed in the here. Now, what is the use of break tag? My point, the reason why I'm showing you this example is to explain you the break tag. Break tag will help you to break the line. For example, I'm using a break tag here. BR, break. This is a self-closing tag. You don't need to write an ending tag. The moment you write a break tag, the continuation will be shown in the next line. The rest of the content will be shown in the next line. So I refresh this page now here. You can see that's the importance of break tag. Break tag will break the line into 2 lines. Okay, so you can have a number of break tags. For example, after from, I'm including one more break tag. So one more line, that line will be break, and Hyderabad will be shown in the next line. You can see here, I have used a break tag. So that's the importance of break tag. So break tag will help you to break the line. Rest of the content will be shown in the next line. That is the concept of break tag, and break tag is a self-closing tag. There's no concept of closing tag. So it is self-closing tag. So break tag is used to insert a line break. That means it will break the line. I hope I'm very clear. I hope I'm very clear about the concept of break tag. Very simple. The most important point of today's session, my dear participants, the most important point of today's session is anchor tag. In most of the HTML pages, you can see a hyperlink. If you want to move to next page, click here. This kind of clickable event can happen when you create hyperlinks. Hyperlinks, what is hyperlink? You will experience now. You can create hyperlinks using anchor tag. In HTML, we have a tag called anchor tag. A tag stands for anchor tag. Anchor tag defines hyperlink, which helps you to link from one page to other page. When you want to establish, when you're developing a website, it will be multiple pages. You will have multiple pages. When you establish link between one page to other page, in such case, you have to put a hyperlink. The most important attribute for the anchor tag is hypertext reference attribute, href. Tags will have attributes. You know that. We have learned it in the previous session when we learned about the image tag. Revision is very important. Revision is very important. Href is an attribute. We use it in the anchor tag. What is anchor tag? My dear friends. What is anchor tag? What is href attribute? How can we establish a link from one HTML page to other pages? All this we will be learning now in practicals. I'll be learning now. I'll be showing you in practicals. Okay. Now look at this HTML page. This is the HTML page which I just now created. Isn't it? This is a HTML page which we have just now created. I'll make some changes. Observe the changes what I'm doing in the HTML page. I remove all this existing content in the body tag. And I mention this particular content. Look at this. For flight booking, click here. Like how I have written my name, this is Sunil. In the same way, I'm writing for flight booking, click here. That's it. I have modified my HTML code. Let me save my HTML file and refresh the browser. Yes, as expected, as I have mentioned in the HTML code, for flight booking, click here is what is mentioned. But when I click here, is it performing any activity? It's a normal text. If you write just click here, do you think it will be redirected to a flight booking page? No. This is a normal text, like my name is Sunil. That's why for flight booking, click here is a normal constant text. You want to generate link whenever click here is click this. I want some page to be redirected. So whenever you want that event to happen for these two words, click here word should be converted into a link. There is no link here. This word you want to have convert into link. When you want to convert it to link, you have to include anchor tag. You have to use anchor tag. Are you understanding? So anchor tag will help you to convert a normal text into a link. I want to convert this click here words into a link. Yes, you can do that. Whichever word you want, you can convert into a link. How to convert into a link? By using anchor tag. By using anchor tag, you can convert it into a link. Look at the change in the code. This click here code. These two words I want to convert into link. So I am using A stands for anchor tag and end of anchor tag. Now tell me how many words are there between the anchor tag? How many words? This is the anchor tag beginning. This is the anchor tag ending. How many words we are having in the anchor tag? In the anchor tag, I have two words. These two words will be converted into a link. Save it. Refresh the page. Now observe here. When I'm clicking on refresh, Now, can you see here? The anchor tag is included, but is it converted into a link? No. Sunil, you may have a question. Sunil, nothing is a difference here. So there's no difference happening here. I'm not able to generate a link. Correct. Just including an anchor tag will not help you to generate the link. Just including an anchor tag will not help you to generate a link. You have to use href attribute. Hypertext reference attribute. When you click here, what needs to be directed? What page you want to display? Do you want to display Google page? Do you want to display Wikipedia page? Or do you want to display logiclabstech.com website? Which page you want to get redirected? You have to mention that. Have you mentioned which page you want to redirect? No. So don't think that just by including an anchor tag, link will be generated. After anchor tag, you have included the anchor tag. Second step, you have to use href attribute. You have to use href attribute. Let me include the href attribute. In the anchor tag, I am using an href attribute. Save. Got it? I have added anchor tag and I have used href attribute. The moment I saved it, now when I click on refresh, have you observed anything? My difference? In the click here, you can see underline. That is the observation you have observed. So the moment I have included href attribute, what is the difference you have observed? When you have just included anchor tag, there was no difference. The moment I have used href attribute, there's a difference. Underline is displayed here. The moment I keep the cursor on those two words, my cursor is changing to hand symbol. That means a link is established. A link has been established. So just by including an anchor tag, it does not make a difference. You have to use href attribute. The link is established. Now, when you click on this, nothing happens. You may have a question, Sunil, you have created a link, but when you click on this link, nothing happens. Nothing happens because did you mention which page you want to redirect to? Do you want to redirect to YouTube or do you want to redirect to which website? Have you mentioned? I have not mentioned it. So when an end user clicks on this link, you should be redirected to some other URL, some other website. That website information, have you mentioned it? No, I have not mentioned it. So that's the reason no activity happens, only link created. Just creating a link will not help you. Where it should get redirected, you have to mention that. For example, I want to redirect to website spicejet.com to this website. I want this URL to be redirected to spicejet.com. I want this website to be redirected. Okay, so whenever you want this website to be redirected, take the URL. This is the URL, my reference. You want this page to be this website to be open. So copy that. Okay, and write href equal to the URL. Okay. Our understanding. So just by including anchor tag, href attribute, the link will be created. But when you click on this link, you want this website to open. Which website to be open? You have to mention that in the href attribute. As I have mentioned now, save it. I open to my page, XYZ, refresh it, and click on this. Click here. When you click here, have you observed at the bottom? Please observe here at the bottom what is getting displayed. So when you click on this, observe the spicejet.com is linked to message and linked to that. So when you click on this, it will redirect to this. So when I'm clicking on this, so it is redirecting to spicejet.com. Have you observed? It is redirecting to spicejet.com. If I go back again, I get to a personal page. Are you understanding? So did I create a hyperlink? Yes, I have created a hyperlink. How did I create a hyperlink? By using anchor tag. How did I create a hyperlink? So whichever the words you want to click, you want to create a link, that you have to include it in the anchor tag. That's the first step. Just by including the anchor tag will not help you. You have to use href and you have to mention the URL and mention the URL in double quotes. That's a good coding practice. If you mention the URL in double quotes, that's a good coding practice. So when you click on this, the URL gets opened. That's the beauty. Clear? When you click on this, the SpiceJet website gets redirected. Observe. Got it? Again, when you go back, you'll get the xyz.com. So this is how you have to create a anchor tag. This is how you have to create an anchor tag. So one of the most important point of today's session, because very frequently in the web applications we use this anchor tag. Please respond in the chat box, my dear friends. I am clear in explaining you how to create a hyperlink in anchor tag using the anchor tag. First step, you have to include what are the words you want to create a link. You have to include it in the anchor tag. Anchor tag is having an attribute. Anchor tag is having an attribute. What is the attribute? href is an attribute. Which website you want to open? Do you want to open spicejet.com? Do you want to open okay, whatever you want to open? For example, you want to open one website. My website you want to open logiclabstech.com. This website you want to open. Copy this and change the reference attribute. Instead of spicejet.com, what did I mention? I have mentioned logiclabstechnologies.tech.com. So let's refresh the page. Refresh the page. Now, when I click on this, observe what's happening. Logic Labs website is opening. So whichever the link you mention here, it will be redirected to that particular. Clear? So you now know how to create a link. This is the beginning of the anchor tag. This is the end of the anchor tag. Okay. So when you want flight booking, you don't want click here. You want flight booking to be link created. So don't create a link for these words. Look at this. You want link to be created, these two words. Flight booking, not click here. Flight booking to be link created. So this is the anchor tag. Okay. And this is the end of the anchor tag. Okay. Anchor tag created. Just anchor tag creating will not help you. You have to use what attribute? href attribute. And mention the reference website which you want to open. That's it. Now, click here will not be, link will not be created because this whatever you have included in the anchor tag, which these two words you have included. So that will be converted into link. Refresh. Now click here is a normal text. Link is created to flight booking. When I click on flight booking, site gets open. So you know how to create a anchor tag, how to use href attribute to redirect it to any website or web page. You can do that. That is very important point about anchor tag. I hope I'm very clear in explaining you the concept of anchor tag. Let's move on to the next part of today's agenda. Let's move on to the next part of. I am sure I clearly promise whatever I'm explaining you, it will be very clear. Let's move on to table tag. Let's move on to table tag. Table tag allows developers to arrange the data in the form of rows and columns. Whenever you want to present the information to the end user in the form of rows and columns. Whenever you want to present the information to the end users in the form of rows and columns, in that case we use table tag. Okay, we have a tag called table, which helps you to create a table. That's the first tag. Table will have headings. Isn't it? Employee name, salary, designation. These are headings, right? And this is data. Employee number 101, employee name something like John, salary, 1,000, designation, something like HR. Got it? This is table data. Okay, one more table data I can also do. 9,000. For example, managed. This is table data. A table can have a number of rows, but this is table headings. Okay, so remember, table is a tag which helps you to create a table. And we have one more tag called T head to specify the head row. There will be only one head row. We have that is TH to specify the column data, column names, and TR to table. TR stands for table row. Insert a row. TD for column. All these are very simple. Okay, look at this example. Very important. Observe this part of the HTML code. Only table tag, please observe. Please observe only the table tag. This is the beginning of the table tag. Is the end of the table tag. Okay. So my first question, this table is having how many rows? My first question, please try to understand my difference. Please try to understand my first question. This table is having how many rows? See here, TR stands for table row. This is end of table row. So this is one row. This is second row. This is third. How many rows our table is having? 3 rows. Let's have a pictorial representation. One row, second row, third. Okay. This is row 1. Row 2. 3 rows. Can we have 4 rows? If you want to have 4th row, just copy paste the table tag and include one more row. There is no limitation. Table can have 3 rows, 10 rows, 100 rows, 1,000 rows. There's no limitation. So I have created a table with how many rows? 3 rows. This is first row, second row, third row, 3 rows. Very important point. First row, I want to use it for headings. First row, I want to use it for headings. How do you have to mention that? You have to mention that. How do you mention it? By using TH, table heading. How many headings? 3 headings. That means 3 columns. Heading is company. Second column heading is contact. Third column heading is country. So which row you are converting into heading? Always the first row should be converted into heading. Obviously meaningful. Heading should be placed in the first row. First row, you have to use TH tag. That's for table heading. So first heading is company. Second heading is contact. Third heading is country. Perfect. First row you are using for, my dear friends, first row you are using for what? You are using for heading. How many headings? 3 headings. That means it is 3 columns. It is 3 columns. So that's how you have to design the table. First, you have to create a table. How to create a table? First step, I said you I have to create a table. How to create a table? Creating table is nothing special. Start the table, my dear friends. Start the table. End of table. Table created. This is how you have to create. Creating a table is nothing but starting the table tag, ending the table tag. Now, how many rows you want? How many rows you want? My plan, as you are a developer, you have to clearly understand how many rows you want. Let's say we want 3 rows. So what is the tag for table row? TR. So I want 1 row. Every row should have a closing tag. This is 1 row. Second row, third row, fourth row. You can have a number of rows. Out of these 4 rows or 5 rows, first row you want to use it for, my dear friends, first row you want to use it for headings, right? How to mention headings? By using a tag called TH. Table heading. First heading is company. Close of company. 1 heading is completed. Similarly, second heading, third heading. To be more simple, you don't want heading, you want employee number as 1 heading. Employee name as 1 heading. Salary as 1 heading. Like this, you have to create heading. So first row is created, completed. Now second row, this is the beginning of second row. Think from second row. Second row, these are data. This is data. So whatever you write here, that is data. Company name, contact number, countries, India. So this is data. This is not data. This is metadata. It's nothing but table heading. But this is data. So for data, you have to use TD for table data. For example, my data, TD, employee number 101, close of table data. One more table data. John. One more table data. Salary is 1,000. That's it. Second row. First row you have converted the heading. Second row is data. Third row is also you want to have data. Okay, very simple. Copy paste this table data. This is third row. Employee number, let's say 102. Let's say something like Smith. So 2000. That's it. Your table creation is done. This is second row. You want third row? You have third row, right? Here you have third row. Third row included as 103. Something like Sunil, employee name, salary 3,000. That's it. End of table data, table row, and end of table. Clear? Like this, you have to construct a table. If you include this table tag, okay, we already have one example, right? xyz.html. So for the anchor tag, we have learned it in the same example only. I'm not creating a new page. In the same page where I have explained the anchor tag. Okay, in the same tag where I have the same below that I have included table tag. Save it and open the page, refresh. Can you see the table created? Simple. Row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. First row you have converted into headings. You can see how many rows. Row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. Simple. My dear friends, am I clear? On the live, I have shown you how to create a table. That's simple. Please respond in the chat box how to create a table. Am I right? So this is first row. Even this is also a row. But first row you have converted into headings by using TH. So headings by default, it will show you in bold. And this is all table data. Simple. This is how you have to create a table. So whenever in the HTML, you want to present the information very beautifully in the form of tables. Most times, many times you get these tables in the real world also. Here in the real world also, you can have the tables. Like this, you can create tables. Very interesting. So table creation is done. Okay. Next. Look at this. I want border clearly. Sunil, I want borders. I want clearly borders, rows and columns to be displayed. You see, there is a, if you want border, there is border. There is border. Mention the border. What is border? My dear friends, respond in the chat box. What is border? What is border? Your answer should be border is an attribute. Table is a tag. Inside the tag, we can use attributes. Inside the tag, we can use attributes. We have used it. Anchor tag, href is an attribute. So it is an attribute. So my dear friends, border is an attribute. Mention border equal to 1. Okay, so let's do that. In our example, for the table, you have I'm adding for the table tag, I'm using an attribute. What is the attribute you have used? Border equal to 1. Look at the impact of it. Refresh the page. Now we are getting borders. Perfect. More bigger borders, increase the number and do some experiments. So border is what? Border is like href is an attribute for anchor tag. My dear friends, like href is an attribute for anchor tag. Border is an attribute for table tag. So you now know how to create a table. You know how to create a table. First, you have to think about rows and think about columns and mention that and structure created and continuously do that. It's very, very simple. So I have shown you how to use table to create table and return the information clearly in the form of rows and columns. Clear about this? Perfect. Perfect. Any questions? Anybody wants to communicate? Please raise your hand. Vanu, am I clear?
Good morning, Sunil. Yeah, you are very clear.
Thank you.
My question is, you have taught us on how to input tables, and in most cases, like take for example, some of these online e-commerce websites, you have to input like 300 lines or 500 lines of rules. Are you going to input all those rules manually? Is there no room for error while using the manual inputting?
You are talking about accepting the values from the user. Am I right?
Actually creating the tables. Yeah, I'm putting the values.
Correct. That means dynamically you want the user to put the values. Agree?
Yes.
Yes. This is not from the end user. Here, what we are doing, are we accepting the values from the user? In this example, we have hard coded. Agree?
Yes.
Now, when you don't want to hard code, when you want to accept the value and whatever the end user accepted, you want to showcase that to the page, isn't it? So you have to wait. You can use it by using input tags.
No. I'm talking of a situation where you are building a website. You want to hard code all the table to be present on your web page, and you have almost close to 200 rows that you are supposed to create and hard code them to be there as a page. Are you going to manually put them?
Yes, if you have those already 200 rows of data, there's no other option. You have to manually put it.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
All right. That goes.
For example, when you please have a look at it, we have this is the manually entered data. Okay, so like this.
Exactly.
See, there's how many number of rows? You can see hundreds of rows because there are hundreds of countries. So
exactly.
This is how you have to manually enter it. Okay, how to have this scroll bar, how to make it more beautiful. We will see it in the coming classes, but there's no other option. You're presenting the data in the form of table. Okay.
All right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How is the learning going on?
Very excellent.
Thank you. Thank you. Dinesh.
Hi, Sunil.
Good morning. How are you, Dinesh?
Yeah, I'm fine. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Yes, your question.
Actually, my doubt is I want to merge table. Just one at one and one at two. I want to merge it as a one at one and different names. Like that, I require table. At that time, what is the code? Can you
Yes,
please
that's
explain?
merging in a sense. You don't want.
Just for
right,
example-
1 minute. Right now, how many? We have 3 employees: 101, 102, 103. Okay?
Yes. Yes.
Now, finally, you don't want 103.
Yeah.
You don't want
I
this
don't
row.
want 102.
Okay. So finally, what you want? Only 102. You want split?
102. I want for 102. I require two names. At that time, I want to merge.
Generally, no. Generally, you have to have generally as part of tables concept. A cell
Yeah.
can have only one value. Okay, that's a restriction. You can have multiple values also. That's not a problem, but that's a not right representation. Okay.
Yeah, actually, my point is I have a task one point. In that task, I have these pointer like a merging of table,
Okay.
like a FB users. We have the FB users. FB
Okay.
users, we getting a 3 number of persons, but in FB purpose, we create a one table for
Mhm.
3 members. At that time, we not create different rows. Just we
You want to
create
use a
single-
logic based on some conditions, right?
Yes, right.
So for that, you can achieve it by using JavaScript. You have to wait. Okay.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Whenever you want to implement the logic, Dinesh, logic you cannot implement because there is no conditions defining conditions something in HTML. It's only just markup language. So we have to use JavaScript for implementing the logic. Okay, perfect. Now let's move on to the next interesting part of today's session. Let's move on to the next interesting table we have learned: input tag. Very, very important. Whenever you want a form to collect the input from the end user. Okay, so whenever you want to collect some information from the end user, something like enter your phone number, enter your email address, enter your contact number. Whenever you want to accept the values from the end users, in such case, we have to use input tag. Input tag will play a very important role in form creation. Whenever you want to accept the values from the user, we have to create a form. So input tag is very frequently used in creating a form. To start with, I'm not creating a form. I'm just showing you how to use an input tag. How to use an input tag and how can we accept the value from the end user. This is how an input tag looks like. Okay, so this is the input tag. And it is a self-closing tag. You don't need to have an end for input tag. So this is self-closing tag. Okay, input type can be text input. There are different types of input tags. It can be radio button. It can be text box. Okay, it can be check box. Okay, so there are different types. That's the reason I'm providing empty space. And you can provide a name to the input field. Okay, for example. Let me again go back to my current page. I don't want table tag anymore. Let me remove the table tag. This is the anchor tag, which you already have seen. So this is the anchor tag example. So don't worry about let's not disturb the anchor tag. Let's use the input tag below the anchor tag. So below the anchor tag, I'm using one input tag. Okay. I have one question to you, my dear friends. This is the input tag, and this input tag is having how many attributes? How many attributes this input tag is having? Type equal to text. Type is one attribute. Name is one attribute. Placeholder is one attribute. Okay. So how many tags I am using? I'm using three. So how many, sorry, one tag, how many attributes I'm using? Three attributes I'm using. I'm using one type attribute, name attribute, placeholder attribute. Okay. Let's start with simple one. Observe here, to be more simple, I have used input tag and I have not used many attributes. I have used only one attribute called type attribute. As I have told you, there are different types of input tags. You can have radio buttons, we can have checkboxes, but I want to use text input. I want to accept the text input. So you mentioned type equal text. What is the result of it? Let us save this HTML code and I'm back. So I have used input tag. So my dear friends, you can see here I have used input tag. The impact of it, as you can see in my HTML page, we have an input tag, which I can keep my cursor and end user can insert the values. So whenever you want to accept the values, so point what you have to understand is that whenever you want to accept the values, you can accept contact number, enter your city, enter your employee number, enter your bank account number. So when you want these kind of values to be entered from the end user, so in such case, we have to use input tag. So first important point, what type of input tag I have used? Text. Okay, perfect. This is the one type of attribute. Let's learn about the next attribute. There can be multiple input tags, right? How many input tags I'm using? 2 input tags. Look at the refresh here. Can you see there are 2 input tags? Okay, like this, n number of input tags we can create. Let's have a break because I want the second input tag in the next line. As you want the second input tag to be in the next line, I'm using the break tag so that the line will be break and next input tag will be the next. So when there can be 2 input tags, there can be 10 input tags. It's always good practice to provide a name. It's always good practice to provide name to the input tag. Every name you can uniquely identify, every input tag you can uniquely identify by using a name. So it's always good practice to provide a name to the input tag. That's about the name attribute. Name attribute is used to provide a name. So use it to provide a name here. I'm using 2 breaks because I want one extra line. Perfect. 2 breaks because I want an extra line. So it's always good practice to provide a name to the input field. So that's the name is used. Name can be username. Name can be anything. Name can be something like N1 or a name can be XYZ. It can be anything. So let's say first field I want to use it for accepting username. So that's the reason name I have mentioned as username. So it's always good to provide name to every input tag. So that's the name attribute is used to provide name to the input tag. Next, the new thing what I want to show you is placeholder. What is the impact of placeholder attribute? Look at this practically. I'm using what attribute? Placeholder. In the placeholder, what did I write? Enter name. So what is the impact of placeholder? Look at this. Save it and refresh the page. So are you getting enter name? It is like a hint message to the end user. Are you understanding, my dear friends? Whenever you want to give a hint message, here you have to enter the name. Here you have to enter contact number. So when you want to give this kind of hint messages, so in such case, so in placeholder is used. So frequently used attributes are type attribute, which is very, very important. You can accept text input, you can accept radio buttons. There are different types of input tags. It's always good practice to provide name to the input tag. You can provide a placeholder. Placeholder can be anything. So whatever you write in a placeholder, that will be shown as a text message. Sorry for the network issues. So I have removed this anchor tag. So I have two input tags. Now refresh here. Can you see there are two input tags? Generally, before the input tag, you should have some labels here. You should have some labels. Okay. So very important. Look at this. This is a paragraph tag. Enter name. I'm using one more paragraph tag saying enter city. So it's always good to give a meaningful label before the text field, right? So enter name, so the end user can understand. He'll enter the name, enter city. So these are paragraphs, but it's not good advice because paragraph, there is no relation between the paragraph tag and the input tag. Are you understanding? There is no relation between the paragraph tag and input tag, so that's not recommended. There is no relation between the text box and the paragraph tag. So instead of text box, we have to, instead of paragraph tag, we have to use labels. Okay, we have to use labels. Whenever you want to use labels, don't worry if you're not able to understand, I repeat it again. Whenever you're using labels, you have to use ID attribute. You have to use ID attribute. Okay, so let me include ID attribute. ID equal to, I'm writing it as something like I'm writing it as Sunil. ID can be anything. I'm writing it as Sunil. Okay, so every input tag is using a unique identification called ID. ID, I can write anything. Okay. So ID is different, name is different. ID is used for linking to the label. So now I'm using label tag. I'm using label tag. Label for I'll tell you. Label for here you have to use ID. What is ID? ID is made. This enter name is a label for this particular input tag. So how do you link label and input? It's possible by using ID. That's the main purpose. Save it, refresh. That's it. Now label and input field always should be in one single line. That's a good practice. There's a relation between label and input tag. What is the relation? The relation I have established, I have provided ID. Generally, ID used for mapping the label. Whatever the value you have provided by ID, that should be provided for label for attribute. That means you have done so that the browser can understand this is a label for this particular input tag. Got it? So input tag. So my dear participants, input tag is used to accept the values from the user. You want to accept the user, your name. You have to accept your email address. You want to accept contact number from the end user. Okay, so whenever you want to accept the values, in such case, we have to use input. Input tag is used for accepting the different values from the user. More detailed explanation about input tag, we learn it when we learn about the concept of forms. More detailed explanation about the input tag. How can we accept the values from the user? Just for your understanding, I have shown you the input tag. More examples of input tags. More examples of the input tag. More examples of the input tag I'll show you whenever we learn about forms. In such case, we'll have more detailed explanation about the input tags. Next thing which I want to show you in today's class is about division tag, but division tag, I think so. Creating style sheet, I think the time is not enough because I cannot help you to create style sheet and division tag in 1 hour. Okay, so now it's already 1 hour. So this division tag and all this linking the style sheets, rest of the concepts I want to keep it for next session. I have not completed this creating the style sheet. This will keep it for the next session because the scheduled 1 hour time has been completed. Rest of the tags we will learn about in the next session. Any questions? Please raise your hand. Manish. Good morning, Manish. How are you doing? I cannot hear you, Manish. Manish.
Sunil, is it audible now?
Yes, it is clear now.
Yeah, I have a doubt regarding the name attribute you used in the input tag. I got
Okay.
confused when used ID and then name.
Okay. Look at this. This one, right?
Yes, exactly.
Placeholder is clear for you, right?
Yes.
Placeholder is clear for you. Huh? So there's no problem for the
it's clear.
placeholder. So you have a confusion between ID attribute and name attribute. Okay. Agree?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What's the main use of name attribute?
That's what the ID I understood. So whatever the ID we are using, Sunil, here we are referring that in the label. So
Okay, correct.
username, I'm not able to understand where to.
Okay. Now in future, if you want some logic,
Okay.
for example, username, I'm writing it as something like for example, John. Okay.
Okay.
Now you want to control this value. You want to control this value. That means what you have to write. If this John is a value entered for which input tag? What is the name for this input tag?
This one, okay.
Manish,
Oh,
what is the
yeah.
name for this input tag? The name for this input tag is username.
Oh,
So if username equal to what is the end user first? John. Okay. Then I want to give some greeting message. Welcome to my website. This is possible. That means you want to read the end user, and then if it is John, then I want to give welcome message. If it is not John, I want to give him thank you message. So this kind of project, how do you control it? There can be multiple input tags, right?
Yeah.
Manish?
Yeah, correct.
So it's always good to have name to
The
every
name
tag
for-
so that
understood.
you can write in your logic if name equal to whatever the end user passes, that you can compare it. That's the purpose of name. Clear?
Yeah, understood. Yeah.
Clear? Okay. Next. Now, what is the use of ID?
Yeah, ID understood.
ID
So
for
it is to
label.
refer label. Yeah.
Correct, label. So you want to establish a logical relation between the label and input tag. In such case, we have to use ID. Whatever the ID you write it, you have here, for example, ID you can write Manish.
Yeah.
Okay. So here also you can write label for. So ID is used for mainly for mapping,
for-
linking to label.
Label,
But name is used for accepting the value, reading that particular value, and do some logic for that particular value. Okay, Manish?
Yeah,
Am I
thank you,
clear?
sir.
The
Yeah,
difference
I
between
must.
ID and label. Thank you very much. How are you doing, Cyril?
I have a simple question. I want to know, are you going to teach us to input the value in the table in the database?
You want to establish communication to the database, whatever the end user is inputting, you want that to be saved in the form of a table,
Yeah.
right? In the database level.
Exactly.
Okay, that can be used by using frameworks. Okay, this is just a HTML part. When we learned about advanced framework, web application development, at that point of time, it is covered.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Kishore, Teja.
Hello, Sunil.
Good morning, Teja. How are you?
Good morning, Sunil. I'm fine, Sunil.
Thank you. Yes, your question.
When we complete this UI technologies, how do we plan for Python?
How you plan for Python? What does it mean?
UI
What is the
technologies
next
can
step?
we? Yes.
Okay. So if you want to get into development, okay, Teja, if you want to try to
Okay.
become a developer, okay, a full stack developer nowadays, after this UI, you have to learn Python.
Okay.
Okay, the next step. After that, you have to learn one framework, that is Django framework. So these are the 3
Okay.
steps of action which you complete it. Then you will be ready for applying the jobs and to get into developer positions.
Okay, Sunil. These 3 technologies is covered with your Logi Labs technologies, right?
Correct. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sunil.
Thank you, Teja. Keep
Okay.
learning. Are you practicing?
Yes. I'm practicing.
Okay. Thank you. So, my dear friends, I am leaving out of station tomorrow. So I'm sorry for it. I cannot have sessions tomorrow and after tomorrow. Tuesday and Wednesday, I cannot take sessions. The next session of the continuation of this session will be on Thursday, 8th, where we learn much more learning about HTML. Okay. Until then, spend some time exploring more about HTML and UI technologies. Have a good time. Thank you very much.